Good day, everybody. Just want to share a few things. Here in South Africa, we are on lockdown day 121. And yeah, it's important to just touch base and, continuously share what God is saying to each of us, and together we can get the full picture of what God is saying. So, the few things that I want to share with you today is really about living in God's freedom and God's liberation. So I like to call this lockdown liberation. And I want to share 3 W's with you on waiting and worshiping and warfare. That we can understand that waiting on God is not just a short season of whether it be a 21-day fast or a 40-day fast or whatever it may be. But waiting on God is a permanent posture. It is really consulting with Him and running everything by Him, and it's consulting with Him in everything that we do, so that we know that it is not something that we're just looking to pass by, because we're not waiting just for this lockdown to be over. Yes, of course, we don't want this happening in our world, and we want to pray it away, but it's really learning to wait on God in every season, no matter what it is, because God is not only powerful when this lockdown is over. He's not only powerful when things are good, He's powerful all the time. And so waiting on God is really doing things that we are called to do in the season, and doing it now when He calls us to do it, even though we are in a time of preparation. And waiting on God is also worship, which is the second W I want to talk about. That we know that we need to worship God. We need to worship Him in everything that we do. And worship is an attitude. It's not it's not an act or an external thing. It's expressed by the external, but it's really an attitude of the heart is worship. So all things that we do, and when we worship, we have to worship on at least 3 levels in our bodies, so that we can know that we have to look after our bodies. And especially in this time, we are reminded that it's always been about strengthening our immune system. It's always been about keeping our bodies fit and healthy. And so we need to continue to do that on the physical level, as we are told that physical training is some value, and spiritual training is valuable for all things, in others, for all times. And so it doesn't say that spiritual or physical training has no value. It has some value. And so it's important for our flesh to be fit, and to, do the ginger teas and the garlic and all the other lemon zest and stuff. To do all these things, that's very important to keeping our bodies fit and healthy, but also to look after our spirit, that where our identity is rooted, that we know that it is by the Spirit that life comes. And so as we read Romans chapter 8, especially in the first few verses, that we realize that life comes through the Spirit. As we read Galatians chapter 5, that we realize that we have to live by the Spirit as we love and serve each other. And so we have to make sure that we continue to release and mature the Spirit within us to the position that it needs to be in our lives, so that it always be in charge as it connects to God, the Spirit, who is Spirit. So make sure that your spirit is something you always feeding, that you're always tapping into, that you're always making the core and center of your life. And then, of course, also our souls, which is, of course, where the great damage lies, that we know that our souls needs to be seen to, that we need to be renewed in our minds, in our thinking, that we know that our souls is something we have the privilege of taking possession of as we are patient or patiently pursuing the Lord. That's Luke 21 verse 19. So take possession of your soul, as in your thoughts, as in your emotions, as in your will, which leads me to the last W, which is warfare. That we understand warfare not from a physical or a worldly perspective, but that we understand warfare from a kingdom perspective. That warfare is making the right choices. We don't get rid of the darkness by any other way but switching on the light. And so if we read 2 Corinthians 10, we recognize that, yes, our weapons are not according to the flesh. And yes, we do take every thought captive, but our overcoming, as verse 6 says in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, that we take these thoughts captive, and we take these imaginations and opinions captive when we are in obedience. In other words, when we make the right choices. So it's so important that we recognize that the warfare that we are involved in is as we prepare ourselves, as we get ready, as we make sure that we are the ones that needs to release the light through the right decisions, which leads to righteousness. So I bless you with that, and I pray that you and I will live in the tremendous, beautiful, liberating freedom that God has given us. So God bless you today.